We really like working with clients who want to meet their purpose, grow their purpose in anything where marketing can add to people's quality of life, or as we say, marketing for good. Well, welcome everybody to our podcast. Today we're delighted to be hosting Andy Young and Seamus Christley from SCT Consulting. So thanks to you both for joining us. We've worked with SCT Consulting over, I suppose, the last year and a half, and it's been projects that we've really got a lot out of and thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. We've started off assisting with some of your strategic marketing planning, and then that rolled into some branding and extending and bringing your brand to life, and then to some key assets such as your capability statement and some of your social media. We're really interested in your business, and we wanted to find out more, and we thought that a number of our listeners would be really interested to hear your story as well. So to start off with, can you tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, when you started, and what services you offer?
Yeah, sure. So like you say, SCT Consulting. So we are a transport advisory firm. We're based in Sydney, but we do work in the ACT and Queensland as well. In terms of our kind of bit of a history, so we were formed in 2016. An opportunity came out of Sydney Metro Northwest, and they were acquiring basically a company to come in and project manage and be the technical leads for StationLink. And that was the closure of the Epona Chatswood rail line to enable the implementation of Metro. So that's kind of where we were born from, I guess, just identifying that opportunity. And it was, to be honest, it's been a pretty amazing kind of 6 years working with Andy and the rest of the team. We're up to about 18 people in the business now. I mean, not that it's about people numbers, but just in terms of like size and scale of growth. And Andy, do you want to talk a bit about some of the sectors that we work in actually across the board?
Yeah. So we work across like a large variety of clients. Obviously both private sector, public sector. But in terms of working with Carolyn and her team, since that exercise, we've developed we've developed in different sectors, so it's easy for us to communicate to our clients, but also to everyone to learn about SCT. So we work generally in transport sector. That's the main one. That's our core kind of the bread and butter business. The other four are development related. Retail, commercial, residential, anything development related, and then energy, which mostly we are looking at wind farms, solar farms, those things, and what sort of traffic impact and traffic requirements are required to support those energy kind of sector. The remaining two are health, hospitals, private public hospital, and then schools, again, also private and public schools as well. Yeah.
And the other one which we're just starting to kind of dip our feet in, but seems to be with not the pandemic's over, but just with the way restrictions are, there's a lot of work in the event space. And typically if you're planning these, 30, 40, 50,000 people events, it's a pretty big transport task to actually get everyone there, get everyone out, not lock up everything around. And just even from a pedestrian standpoint, is it safe? Have you got your flows right? So we're starting to work on some pretty interesting events in that space as well.
Thank you. And just before we go on, how did you both meet?
Is this a dating? It's
a big commitment to go into business with someone. So
it's a serious relationship that we've entered ourselves into. So look, I'll start. I guess we both used to work at a company called ACOM, and so me and Seamus worked together there for about 9 years before this relationship starts.
We've known each other about 14, 15 years now, so a long time.
Yeah.
We're still talking to each other after being in business for 6 years, so that's something.
Yeah. we balance each other out well. We have the same kind of ethics and moral setting, but we're very different in other ways. But it works well from a business standpoint. Yeah.
That's a really great segue, actually, talking about your shared values, because one of the things that we're really interested in is the intersection between purpose and commerciality. So can a business be a strong commercial business and also be very much focused on values and purpose? And I know that's been important for you from the beginning. I suppose that we wanted to get to the nub of what is your purpose and how do you feel it adds value to your business?
I think, look, it's probably evolved over time, to be honest. Like, I think when we started the business, it was, that was part of the reason we got you guys engaged, because we were like, we've got this tagline, but it's like a sentence long. It's like 30 words. It wasn't 30 words, you know what I mean? It was incredibly long, but it was all about, delivering ultimately just sustainable and thoughtful transport solutions that actually help society and get everyone through. So that's always been there from kind of day one. But I think the other purposes, I guess that's more a broader purpose for improving society. But like the underlying thing in our business, which we focused on a lot, and we still focus on today, but at the start was the key driver, was the people that we bring in, and the people that we have that are, I guess, share our just views about improving people's lives, and obviously transport's the vehicle that we have to do that with our training and our skills. But that was really where it focused, building a team that just is really looks out for each other, is high performing, is a solid unit. That was kind of where it started from. And then as we've gotten bigger over the last 6 years, we've kind of been able to, I guess, expand that initial focus that we always had about that, thoughtful sustainability angle, and start working that in. So we're just literally, documents came through on the email yesterday. We're just starting a foundation whereby we donate our profits to, not all our profits, but a portion of our profits to basically things that decarbonize, our industry, so that we can actually try and reduce the impact of climate change on future generations. So that's kind of now where we're pushing more into, whereas initially it's still the projects, we still want to achieve that, but we're just seeing what else we can do out there. And people, I think that's just because of the people we have in our business, that allows us to your point, Caroline, like be successful around, well, that's our purpose. We've got people that support it, and then actually the projects we work on deliver that aim so people can see it. And now what else can we kind of build on top moving forward?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Andy, I don't know if you wanted to add anything before I sort of ask a little more.
No, just...
Yeah, so I suppose there's a few things there that are really interesting. One's around your internal culture. So it sounds like people who are aligned in your values are really important. And I think one of the phrases you used was looking out for each other and high performance. We've probably all worked in an organisation that's dysfunctional, or some of us even toxic, unfortunately. But on the other end of the scale, organisations that really hum are nice places to work, and they bring the best out in people. So what are some of the things that you do to make sure you have a workplace that's a nice place to come to, and that people want to come and people want to do their best?
Well, Andy, I'll give you a shout out, and then you don't need to give me one back. That's all right. But if you look at Andy and myself, whenever someone joins a team, we do a personality profile. So Andy and I are very, we're more on the caring side in terms of how we feel about people and that kind of nurturing angle. We show it in different ways, but what Andy does incredibly well is, like, Andy could spend his entire day just talking to people. If that was Andy's dream day, he could just sit there and be like, yep, no worries. That's 8 hours to that, charge code, please.
I'm still trying to see if we can have I call it a side business, like have an SCT cafe or something, like, in our office, like part of our office space will be a cafe, not only serving our staff, but like, obviously clients, but other people that, if they're happy to come by and have a chat. And, ultimately the work that we do, it's like, getting still like in touch with our community. Like, how do they want things, change if they see a need of change, but like, how do they want to see their community, like, evolve, going, like, particularly in Sydney, Sydney is going through a lot of change in the macro scale, but in the communities, how do they respond and how do they react to that? So anyway, that's probably a bit of a sidetrack.
Yeah.
No, but it's right. That's what we do. And because, to your point, Carolyn, like to have that, I mean, we are really just a people business, right? That's all we do. Without the people in the team, we don't have a business. So, that kind of focus that we put on them, but not a focus. You can't really fake that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? People will see through it. They don't really want to be a part of it. So it's just a genuine enjoyment of being in each other's company. I mean, we do all the, we do the fun little stupid things like, the fitness challenges and the team games and all that sort of stuff. But it's more just like having a laugh in the office and just actually listening to people and talking to people and understanding them. And then that's how you typically form a bond and you kind of go from there. So I don't know if there's some magic recipe to it, but it's, that's just what we do.
Great to
I think it's genuinely who we are, particularly with, Seamus and myself being the leaders, but it's also time that we invest into the people. I'm not talking about even from a professional training point of view, we talk to them a lot. We actually spend time together as a team a lot. We could do better, but we do celebrate a lot of of our success. But I think we also do our annual staff survey, which obviously it's a way for them to provide feedback to us. We ask them how are they going, what are they experiencing, if they have challenges in either their professional career but also just we even ask them, look, are you experiencing problems with a relationship with other people in the office and things like that. That's one way that we see feedback from our team, but there's so many ways. I mean, we generally ask the team about their feedback and opinion in most decisions that we've made. It does get a bit challenging as the team grows bigger because sometimes we make decisions that we're not going to please everyone. And I think because the way that the business has grown and evolved into, people may sometimes take it that, look, why am I not being heard? Why is the decision not something that I've told you that I want? So that's the challenge that we've got to face. But again, I think it's the way that we've set up the company, we're very easy to talk to, and we would if people really feel, I guess, let down or frustrated because the decision wasn't made with their feedback, then we're happy to talk to them about it.
Yeah, that's really, it's really interesting to hear that. I suppose going and I, it's evident when we, sort of work with your different staff members, that people do, you're not just saying it, it's actually how they're experiencing your business. It's difficult to then balance that with being a strong commercial business. And evidenced by the fact that you're able to set up a foundation. You're obviously getting it right with customers as well. I know relationships are really important with your customers, but again, that's not enough either. You also need to deliver. So how do you get that balance with being really sharp commercially, as yes, a nice place to work and a great atmosphere and getting the most out of your team, but how do you then balance that with a very commercial focus?
By being incredibly fussy with our team. We could be 30 people probably if we wanted to be 30 people, but not interested in kind of growing for growing's sake. It's a business where you're going to get thrown into a lot of different areas. People need to be nimble, they need to be dynamic, they need to, if we're interviewing someone, basically say, look, you're going to be under, we actually got on the board like pressures of privilege. We've got a couple of things I won't go through more, but yeah, that's one of them on the board. But it's just basically it's okay. We can all get in and support each other. But at the same time, you still need to, as an individual, be like, I'm okay with not fully maybe knowing everything here, but I'm going to go in and give it my best, or, I'm going to pitch in somewhere else around the business. And I think that kind of attitude is what allows us to be fairly, fairly lean on our operations, but also deliver to a really high standard, because like I said at the start, we're just people, right? You're literally people. But that's probably what we need to do a bit better when you're making just a comment earlier, Caroline, about like, dealing with clients. I mean, we will treat our clients like we treat our team, because that's just, everyone's just a person, right? You just want to have a normal conversation with someone and solve the problem together. But we do need to do a much better job of talking to people we don't know a bit better, which is kind of where our business is in this kind of maybe a bit of an inflection point. Like, we've got to where we are by basically never talking about ourselves externally, and we'll do a project and we'll do it well, and then hopefully the client likes it, and if they do, they'll tell someone, or the next project will come out and they'll be like, yep, we want to work with you guys again. But we're in this unique position where our team's competing against firms that turn over hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, and they're global, and they've got maybe 20,000, maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000 people around the world, but we're seen as an alternative to that firm. So we don't have the massive juggernaut of their kind of marketing and comms team, but that's where we need to start now, looking and to how we do that. And that's where, I mean, Kim Logan's our marketing director, and she does an amazing job, and that's kind of where we're starting to push into those areas as well, because we've got to really to grow.
I think that sort of growth is what keeps a business fresh and alive and sort of stimulated. So maybe not growth for growth's sake, as you said before, but yeah, getting out to new pastures is healthy. Yeah. And I just also wanted to go back and talk about the foundation, which sounds absolutely amazing. And I think you said that you're really trying to use that to support sustainability and to decarbonise the industry. So that's really living what you talk about. So how did you come to that approach, and how's that working for you, I suppose?
Well, I guess that one was just, I don't know, always looking and reading about the world becoming more unequal, or there's some disaster and some climate happening somewhere around the world. I mean, even this week, what was it, like UK was over 40 degrees for the first time ever, and all that sort of stuff. So we were just kind of like, well, we're in a pretty fortunate position where we can actually do something about that. Now, we could just go and donate that money to another kind of agency, maybe a renewable energy project overseas or something like that, and that was something that could be done. But I don't know, we just really wanted to, and we can still do that through this foundation if we choose. But we just thought it'd be, Australia is such a big emitter of greenhouse gases. What can we do locally in kind of the cities that we have to kind of hopefully achieve some, definitely some climate positive impacts, but also just from a social sustainability standpoint, is there anything we can do for people who are on lower incomes and combine that with, a climate basis, just to try and help those people who maybe are less fortunate? Yeah.
I think the way that we doing it gives us a bit more control or drive of picking what we want to do and achieve, I think. And again, that is something that we share with the team, and the team is just so excited about that the business can, or it's willing to do and achieve something like that.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a great motivator, and it's great to, it's amazing I'm sure it's amazing for staff to be involved and feel like they have a say in that, and you're sort of building towards it's a great, it's a great goal. We were going to ask you, one of the questions we were going to ask you a bit later on was about sustainability, and how important is sustainability and ESG within the business, but I think you've just answered that, really. I don't know if you want to add anything else, or whether you feel...
The only thing I'd add, just because we're pretty proud of it, is that so we're externally accredited to be a carbon neutral firm, but when they actually did to be honest, we were surprised at what we weren't offsetting. We've been offsetting our power and our hire cars and all that, flights, everything for years. But when they did the audit on us, they were like, I think we were 30-40% below any other firm that ever audited. So we were like, well, and again, like everyone in the business loved that. They were like, oh, cool, this is great to see. So we always offset our emissions anyway. But I think that's kind of, you got to do that. I mean, if you focus is on like sustainable outcomes, you kind of got to do that stuff. I think it's important. That's the only other thing I'd add. I don't know, Andy, do you want to add anything?
I think, I mean, not directly related to the question, but I think something I like to share it, and it's not only sustainability. I think the business is also, it comes back to purpose. For certain things or like industry that we don't think is the right sort of area for us to work in, like we very much okay to say, look, we're not going to work for these clients. Like, you know, we actually haven't been like, you know, approached by someone like maybe, you know, if I say a casino or like, you know, a coal mine or something like that. But like if these sort of business approach us, then we would pretty much just say, no, that's not the purpose of what we're trying to achieve here for the company. So we're pretty happy to let these things go. So I think that comes back to the purpose of the business.
Yeah, that's pretty important too, isn't it? Being able to walk away from work that you really don't feel aligns with your purpose and the type of organisation you want to be. So one more quick question about purpose and then we'll move on. But is it something that you communicate with? Obviously, you've talked about a lot of internal communication, but is it something that you talk about or use or discuss with clients?
It's what we're starting to do. We're rebuilding our website at the moment. It's a big feature on the new website. But to be honest, this is kind of what I said earlier. This is the thing, we focus so much on this internal culture. We haven't often projected that externally. And we put a post up on LinkedIn, I think, when we got the certification. But is it in any of our bid collateral? No, it should probably be in there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think we could do a lot better in that space, Caroline.
I think, yeah, Seamus is right. I think, I mean, if you put it into a positive spin, I suppose it's like we're not taking full advantage of what, like the purpose and the status of the company, which is actually a great differentiator with our competitor as well. And other companies who do similar things, like, you know, we're not maximizing our exposure on that. And as I said, very, very importantly, as a differentiator.
Do you feel it would make a big difference to clients? Is it something that, what sort of role would, you know, if you did promote it more with clients, is it going to win you work? Is it going to build deeper relationships? Is it going to align you with other organisations, or is it not really high on a decision matrix?
You go, Andy. What do you think? I've got my thoughts.
Well, I think I wouldn't. Again, that reflects on how we do business in some way. So whenever we go and talk to client, or like, you know, whenever we do some of these makes this decision, yes, ultimately it's for the business, but we sort of don't naturally go like, okay, is that going to win us more work? I mean, over the long term, it may be, but like, you know, if we come back to set, let's say, from a procurement perspective, look, there are more and more criteria that people are measuring or like evaluating you if you achieve these things, like, you know, not a big proportion of the evaluation criteria, maybe like, you know, 5-10%. But again, you know, sometimes that could be a differentiator. But again, like I think more for us, it's we want our clients, it comes back to people. I mean, people is our target. We want the clients to be on that journey that they feel like, you know, they are working with people who have these goals and purposes that align with how they want to do business.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it's becoming more and more something that people think about. Yeah, it might not be the core, but it might be the 10% that is, that does differentiate you from others. And yeah, I mean, we just have to look at the past, the federal election result in May this year to see that, those sort of issues are becoming more important for more people. Yeah, great. And we've touched on it a little bit, but we obviously did the work with you around getting really clear around your main messages, helping you sort of build on your brand and then bring that to life across a number of platforms. But I suppose how are you using that, and how do you see that? How do you want to use it going forward? How's that going to add value to your business?
So you'll see a lot of that. Well, I think what you really helped us with was just being more to the point on some of the things that we're actually trying to get across. We're a bit too verbose when we were kind of trying to talk to people before, and that's just our industry, to be honest. Is historically it's been like that. But so a lot of the insights that you gave us in terms of the ways in which we could word our approach and our purpose and things like that, that's all, for example, we're rewriting all the copy on the website, that's going in, we're making sure that we bring that in. We've kind of pardon me, with the kind of, I'm trying to think of it, the brand guidelines was the word that was escaping me. That's now embedded in all our documentation that we take out, so there's clarity there when we push that out. So those are kind of some of the areas we've really brought in. I mean, you mentioned LinkedIn earlier, so I won't touch on that again, but like I guess you've allowed us to take the first steps in that next part of our journey to being like, okay, well, we need to be serious about what we do for marketing, and we actually need to communicate this a lot more. Otherwise we get stuck in what we've been talking about just internally, being like, hey, we've done this, but which is still good, but we need to be external as well.
I think the other part that when we first engaged with you guys on this journey was obviously you helped us talk to some of our clients and understand where they at, what they thinking SCT was at, back when we did the interviews, and we draw a lot of insights from that, and don't take it personally, and just learning from that where people are at and what we need to do, which is something that we've continued to do, so which is really good. I think you can say it's so fundamental, for a business or consulting business, surely you've got to continue to talk to your clients, but and we now talk to clients at different kind of points, but I think the other thing to remind ourselves is we just need to keep doing it, no matter how much we think we've done. It's natural, I think, that we keep hearing feedback. It's when we talk to some new people, it's who are you guys? We've not heard about you guys, or maybe it's actually worse. You talk to people that you know, and you thought they were at this point, which is, but then they actually I thought you still got 3 people and you don't do X, Y, and Z, when that would probably be us 4 years ago or something like that. So
yeah, I think you've touched on a few marketing truisms. I can see my colleagues nodding because we absolutely agree the value of speaking to your customers and undertaking that sort of qualitative research. It just pays off over years. And yeah, some of those simple, consistent branding undertakings are just so worthwhile, and we can assume that everybody else's thinking is where ours is at. So you've hit on some golden points there.
And acknowledge, it's not about when they said that, they think they're telling you that you haven't done or you haven't achieved anything, but it's actually, okay, we'll take what they said and then actually, okay, look, we don't want another person to say that, so okay, do something about it.
Yeah.
If I can just chime in, a lot of it too is about publicly celebrating those little wins that you get, and staying again with marketing, staying up to date, communicating, and having kind of a set of, I guess, marketing tools that you can just hop in and make it really easy for you to just say, hey, we got a new job, or hey, we did this, having those kind of systems set up. I know, I guess I can speak from experience, is so helpful to just keep pumping stuff out so people don't think back to, the post that you made 4 years ago. Oh, you're not doing that anymore, right? That's what you want to, just staying up to date, staying like celebrating those little wins, I think so valuable publicly. It's hard, but it's valuable for sure.
It is hard.
Thanks, Nicola. That's a good point. Now, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to give SCT Consulting a plug for? Anything coming up, or anything you'd like to mention before we wind up?
I don't know what Seamus has got in mind, but like, you come to a point, you're asking us to promote ourselves. And I think at the start of this, we say we're very poor at doing that. So I haven't thought of anything, actually.
I like the coffee shop idea. That was a good one.
Yeah. Brand new announcement. We're opening a coffee shop. No,
Well, we'll be the first there. Don't worry. Well, yeah, look, I've always loved your purpose. Thoughtful, efficient, sustainable transport solutions. I've always felt we've been really well aligned, and it's always been a pleasure to work together. So thank you so much for your time and being on the podcast today. It was great, really great to hear more about your business and some of the thinking behind it.
Thanks, Carolyn. Really nice to meet everyone else as well. Thank you.
And thanks for the opportunity for us to, talk about something that we probably don't normally do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
We really like working with clients who want to meet their purpose, grow their purpose in anything where marketing can add to people's quality of life, or, as we say, marketing for good.